Hey, welcome. It feels like every single day there's another headline about generative AI. It's exciting, sure, but it's also kind of overwhelming, and just trying to cut through all that noise can be tough. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to lay out a clear framework to really understand what Gen AI is, how people are actually using it today, and the huge, huge questions we all need to start answering about its future. All right, let's get into it. So, here's our roadmap. First, we'll tackle that feeling of Gen I overload. Then we're going to see how businesses are actually putting this stuff to work. After that, we'll explore the incredible new toolkit that's out there for you to use. From there, we'll shift gears and get serious, digging into the 5 biggest ethical questions we're facing. And finally, we'll look at a potential path forward through all of this. All right, part 1, navigating the Gen AI overload. This is the starting line for so many of us, right? You're looking at this amazing new technology and it feels like the possibilities are, well, just endless. It's chaos. And that leads to this really critical question from some research by EY. When a technology can do basically anything, how on earth do you decide what it should do? I mean, if you're trying to run a team or even just figure it out for yourself, this can be totally paralyzing. It's like the paradox of choice, but blown up to a massive technological scale. So the answer, and this might be surprising, isn't just more wild brainstorming. It's actually more structure. It's something called a taxonomy. Now, I know, that sounds super academic, but just think of it like a strategic map. By creating some categories, some constraints, it gives everyone a true north. It helps you filter out all the noise and really zero in on what's going to create actual value. It takes that chaos and turns it into clarity. So let's see how that plays out in our next section. Once you've got a way to think strategically, what's actually happening on the ground? How are businesses getting past the hype and putting generative AI to work in the real world? To answer that, we're going to look at a really deep analysis from IoT Analytics. And they didn't just guess. They dug into 530 real-world, enterprise-level generative AI projects. This number is our anchor. It grounds us in what companies are actually doing right now. So, where's all the action? Well, the data shows a surprisingly clear picture. A whopping 49% of all these projects are focused on customer support. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's an area with a ton of repetitive questions and a really clear immediate path to making things more efficient and getting a return on that investment. This is the first big wave of Gen AI adoption, and it is all about changing how companies talk to their customers. And if we drill down even further, we can see that focus is razor sharp. It's not just support in general. It's about solving specific problems, handling routine questions, and helping people out after they've bought something. This is Gen AI being used for real, tangible, measurable automation. But what does that really feel like for an actual person? This quote from Chris Barnhart at NC Fusion, a nonprofit sports group, just says it all. For a small team, AI isn't some abstract idea, it's a total force multiplier. Taking a task that took an hour and shrinking it to 10 minutes, that is a complete game changer. It lets them punch way, way above their weight. And all this business adoption has lit a fire under an absolute explosion of new tools and new products. So for our third section, let's check out the tangible tools that are now out there for pretty much anyone. This is where things get really, really fun. The whole creative toolkit has just blown up. We've moved so far beyond just writing text. We are now talking about generating completely original video, images, and music. You can even build whole presentations and apps. The barrier to actually creating something is just dropping like a rock, and there are few key players leading the charge. Let's take a look at some of the heavy hitters here. If you need to write something in a very specific brand voice, a tool like Jasper can literally learn it. For absolutely stunning artistic images, creators are all flocking to Midjourney. If you want to make some really creative, experimental videos, Runway is the place to be. And of course, for just pure do-anything versatility, you've got ChatGPT. Each one of these tools has its own special superpower. Okay, so we have this incredible new power, but with great power, well, you know how that goes. For our fourth section, we really need to press pause and grapple with the huge ethical questions this new toolkit raises. And this is, arguably, the most important part of this whole conversation. And look, this is not just some niche concern for tech nerds. A big review of over 100 academic articles shows that Gen AI ethics is a major topic in dozens of fields, from medicine to the social sciences. This proves that experts everywhere are wrestling with the exact same questions. This is a societal challenge, not just a tech one.
The research boils the whole debate down into 5 core challenges. First up, bias. AI learns from our data, and if our data has prejudice, the AI can amplify it. Second, misinformation. The power to create totally realistic but completely fake deepfakes is now cheap and easy to access. Third, privacy. These models get trained on mountains of public data, and sometimes they can leak sensitive personal info they were never supposed to see. Fourth, ownership. If an AI makes a work of art, who owns it? The person who prompted it? The AI company? And finally, accountability. When one of these black box AIs causes real harm in the world, who's to blame?
So, after all that, the most important question is, where do we go from here? Our final section is all about trying to find that responsible path. It's not about slamming the brakes on innovation, but about steering it, balancing these huge risks with the incredible opportunities. And here you can really see the two sides of the coin. The risks, bias, misinformation, privacy violations, are absolutely real. We can't ignore them. But the potential for responsible innovation, for democratizing creativity for everyone, and for building more inclusive systems, that's just as real. The technology itself is just a tool. The outcome depends completely on the choices that we make. And the research points to a pretty clear blueprint for how to do that. First, collaboration is everything. Technologists cannot solve this alone. They need ethicists, legal scholars, social scientists, all at the same table. Second, we need ethics by design, meaning ethical questions are part of the process from day one, not some cleanup job at the end. And third, we need adaptive policies, rules that can change just as fast as the technology does. When you boil it all down, it comes to this. Generative AI is a mirror. It reflects back to us all the patterns, the good and the bad, in all the human data it's trained on. But it's also a tool, a really powerful one for shaping what comes next. And the single most important thing to remember is that its path is not set in stone. It is being actively designed by us. Which leaves all of us with one final critical question to think about. As this technology becomes the architect for so much of our world, who gets to write its moral code?